What's going on, Sumolings? Thank you so much for joining us for another product walkthrough webinar. I am Lindsay, and I am joined by the team over at 366 Degrees. 366 Degrees is a cloud-based solution designed to build and automate the sales process with social, email, and video campaigns, as well as engaging landing pages. Before we dive into the walkthrough, real quick, I just want to tell you some things. The first is that if you want to tell us a little bit about your use case, why you're interested in 366 Degrees, maybe your industry, maybe, I don't know, your business. Tell us anything about yourself. We love to hear about you over in the chat room. And also, if you want to tell us where you're watching from, we love to hear that too. If you have any questions though, questions about the deal, questions about setup, anything like that, put those in the Q&A box down below the video. We will circle back to them at the end of the walkthrough, but we also have Paul from the 366 Degrees team on standby to answer any questions that come in. And then the last thing is that there will be a replay of this available, so you can watch this truly as many times as you want, but also if you need to step out, that's okay too. All right. Hey, Brad, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today, Lindsay. Thank you very much.
I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to walk through this. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to you. Let me know when you're ready for questions.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate the opportunity that's been provided by AppSumo and all the Sumo links out there. So thank you very much for trying 366 Degrees, or if you've already bought it, and we hope you're liking it. So today I'm going to go through the product itself and go through the areas that you can use, and then pick a use case to kind of walk people through. So assuming everybody can see my screen, I'm going to take that as a yes, Lindsay. I'm going to begin.
Yeah, it looks good.
All right, great. So welcome, everybody. I really appreciate you joining us today. What I thought I was going to do is take you through a walkthrough of 366 Degrees. So 366 Degrees started about 5 years ago as an actual internal product that we were trying to solve some problems that we were having with some other solutions. So it actually was built internally, and then we made it into its own company about 2 years ago. So the idea of what we were trying to do as we get started was be able to bring together some disparate things that happen in the market today. There's a lot of email platforms only. There's a lot of social platforms only, a lot of landing page type platforms that are built specifically for those areas. And one of the things that we really wanted to accomplish was to be able to manage those three channels within one platform. And so that was kind of the concept of 366 Degrees and why we did it and why we're here today. So I'm going to start over here on the left-hand side and walk everybody through, and then we'll get into some use cases. So when you first log into 366 Degrees, you're obviously going to see your profile. You can put your picture there. You can view your profile, change any information about your profile, change your password if once you log in. We always recommend that, or you can change your password as frequently as you like, or change it once. One of the things that we do with 366 Degrees is we do allow you to connect to your Google account. So if you're a big Google user and you want to see campaigns in your calendar, like when they've been posted or when they're running, you can connect your Google account here. I'm not really going to walk you through that, but you basically just click on it, and it'll sync with your calendars, and you'll be able to see anything that you're running in 366 Degrees on your calendar, whether it was a campaign from a post, like a social post, an email, or a landing page schedule. The next area from the dashboard that we're on right now is when you first log in, if you're new, you're not going to see any data because there's no data here. So it's going to look blank, and you're going to kind of wonder what's going on. But just to define what's happening, so your last campaign that you run will automatically show at the top, and it's going to show just some basic information for you to kind of get a checks and balances of what's happening. So what was sent, what was opened, what was clicked, and then you're going to know some basic graphs, response by lead source. So in 366 Degrees, you can use 366 as its own entity, meaning you can manage lists, or upload or manually enter leads or contacts, or upload lead list or contact list, and that would be the 366 Degrees source. We do integrate with two primary CRMs right now. One is Nimble, which is a small CRM really built for the SMB space that connects directly with 366 Degrees for segmentation and audience selection. And then we do integrate with Salesforce. Salesforce is not part of the AppSumo deal, but it can be installed via the Salesforce App Exchange for all the Salesforce lovers. Then you're going to look to the right-hand side. You're going to see response rate by day of the week. So this is run over a 90-day period. So it's averaging out the response rates over a 90-day period. And at the bottom, you're going to see your latest social posts. So I'll get to this in a little bit, but you can connect your Facebook account, your Twitter accounts, or your LinkedIn accounts, and you can post, create and post either images, video directly to those social accounts. While we're here, just to kind of go through what that means. So if you are a Facebook user and you're managing your business accounts, when you log in, based on your login credentials, if you're an admin on the business accounts, your business accounts will automatically be associated with 366 degrees, and we'll get through that in a little bit. Facebook does not allow us to post to your personal page anymore, but you can manage your business brands through this process. Second will be Twitter. So you can connect as many Twitter accounts as you want. You can connect your business accounts, your personal accounts. If you're managing multiple brands, you can manage your multiple Twitter brands directly from 366 degrees. Quick note, we're not a social listening platform, so we're not bringing back retweets and detail on who's tweeting. We're bringing back basically engagement, who's liking, who's sharing. And on your LinkedIn account, for those B2B companies, or really for your personal brand, it's becoming more important to do posting and build your brand on LinkedIn. You can connect your LinkedIn account and you will be able to post to your personal on LinkedIn or your business accounts. So it works very similar to Facebook as far as authentication, meaning if I have access to my business page accounts as an admin, when I log in via my personal account, they will automatically be associated with 366 degrees. So the dashboard, once you start using it, allows you to really get to pretty much anything you need to do. So you can almost launch everything from the dashboard. You can launch a campaign, create an email, create a social post, create a landing page, and get to your detailed reports right from the dashboard. So by clicking on this, we'll go into that. You can add new contacts to 366 degrees. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can manually add it. You can upload a list. So there's several areas where you can, if you're not using a CRM, you can get data into the platform. So those that are not using a CRM or coupling it with something like Salesforce or Nimble, I would equate 366 degrees as kind of a lead and contact database that, that you can use if you're not a CRM aficionado. So at the configuration at the top, you can always get to your key points of setting up your Google account, your company profile on Facebook, your LinkedIn profile, your Twitter profile. You can simply add your accounts at any time. This area will show if you are connected to other data sources. So some cases you won't, so there won't be anything here. But also you can get to your domain setup and manage your domain from there. So that's a quick overview of the dashboard and what it's doing and what kind of reports it's kind of just bringing to your attention. It's a high level, where the lead's coming from and what are the response rates and how'd your last campaign do. The second area of 366 degrees is as you start to add contacts, leads or contacts to the system, you're going to be able to get to those profile records to do a number of things, either edit them, change them, or see kind of a complete view of that individual and how they're engaging with 366. There's key areas that we have from we call profiles. So an employee profile is all your users in your company that are using 366 degrees. So we do not price per licensing. So as far as at your company, you can have as many employees as you want using 366 degrees, and you can actually set their roles to certain access to what they can get to. I won't get into that during this demo. I think it's a little much, but you can read about that. Contributors are something that kind of think of it as collaboration. So for companies that are using third-party creative services or content services, you can actually set up contributors at a campaign level or an email asset level or a landing page level and invite them into 366 degrees to help you kind of create, the best looking landing page or best looking email. And then customers are segregated separate than leads, where you can manage your customers separate and leads. So let's just look me up real quick. You'll notice that I'm going to be a lead and an employee. But if I want to go into my lead record, I can obviously view it. I can edit it. or I can actually delete it. So when I go into the profile of the lead, you're going to notice that we're going to have all the basic demographics around a lead or contact, you know, name, address, emails, phone, cell, data source of where this lead was acquired from. In this case, it came from Nimble versus 366. And then we are doing some profile enrichment from some other platforms if you are connected to the CRM, where we pull in some of their social properties. You'll notice an engagement score on each record as you kind of drive into that record. We'll get a little bit further into the engagement score here in a little bit, but this is defined in 366 degrees, and you can define, you know, basically different weight points when someone's opening an email, if they've clicked on an email, if they actually filled out a landing page. You can kind of give them points, and we'll get into that in a little bit. From the activity, you're always going to see at a profile record what this person's been engaging with. You know, the emails you've sent, have they opened the emails? Did they click on a link? Did they watch a video in some cases? So we do integrate with Vidyard as a video platform. So those of you who are interested in video, if you're licensing Vidyard's platform, that will connect on the back end. And even if you're using their free video creator, which is done in a browser, in a Google browser, you can also include those videos as well in your emails, your social posts, your landing pages, and a lot of different things. You'll see notes. So for those that don't have a CRM or using their daily task in there, you can add notes. You can add as many subscriptions as you like. So those that are doing newsletters, or, you know, maybe podcasts. So we have a podcast in our general newsletter. You can subscribe people manually to that, or they can subscribe through the opt-in pages, or another area in the subscription area. I can show you in a little bit how you can upload contacts in that area. Another thing you'll see on the contact record is the drips. Drips are basically sequences or journeys or cadences. People use different terminology. We typically say cadences. But as you build automation in 366 for like multi-sequence campaigns, you can actually see those sequences on the record, and you can add those individuals to campaigns directly on their profile. So the people search, like I said, you can do that search and find someone. So if you're trying to find a lead or contact really quickly, you can do that. The next step would be your company profile, which is really important as you're getting started, you know, to set these things up. So I showed you from the dashboard where you could get to your social properties and add them. You can also get to those social properties here and add your accounts here, as well as the main thing that you want to do when you're setting up your company and you're just logging in to 366 degrees, you're going to go to your site customization. And this is where you're building really your subscription pages. So you're going to want to upload your logo. Please do it to the exact pixels, 130 by 90 pixels. And you're going to fill out your company information. And then you can configure, obviously, your text color and your background color and see what your opt-out page is going to look like. So in this case, I'm using OMI as an example. These are going to be your unsubscribe page. So any subscriptions that you have available are going to show up here, and then people can individually unsubscribe from, you know, all of your list or particular lists that they don't want to be involved in. So in our case, if somebody wanted to not listen to our podcast anymore, they could subscribe or unsubscribe from the podcast. But that's something that really important that you want to do when you're setting up to make sure that your opt-out page looks like your brand. So next, you know, we're going to go into email administration. I'm not going to go through all the domain management side, but while I am here, I'm going to point out we recently, about 60 days ago, added the ability to add multiple email domains to your 366 instance. And so you would say, why would you do that? Well, in a case like 366 degrees, OMI is our parent company. So we manage all of our communications for both brands right out of 366. So you can notice that we have a domain for OMI and a domain for 366. And you can set those domains up and accordingly. You can go to the help section and it'll show you how to do that. As far as, you know, managing your email defaults, one thing that will be important for you to do as a setup, if you haven't, you know, started using 366 degrees, is simply come to the domain, and you're going to want to make sure this is actually the footer that will go out on all your emails. So you can type this in, which I highly recommend if your address is not going to change. Or if you filled out your company information, which some people miss that point and there's missing spots, you can simply drop and drag over and it will dynamically pull from your company information. I tell people just to type it in. And then for your opt-out, you're going to simply drop and drag that over and set that up. So if I were to go to the 366 domain, you're going to see the same thing. I'm managing the domain. The footer's different. It's got a different logo. So you can manage most of those brands. So it's really important that you set up your outbound footer and your opt-out in that area. So let's go to notifications. I won't go too much into notifications, but notifications are for if you're using contributors or assigning assets to people outside to come in. You can change the notifications. You can change out your opt-out messages. You know, thank you, sorry, you're leaving. You know, whatever. You can do that readily right in the notification area, but I won't go too much into that. From the profiles, I talked a little bit about that when we were searching at the top about the people search. The employee profiles, contributor profiles, customer and lead profiles are all separate, and that's for a reason. We're breaking those up into different groups so you can target. But if you're going to add another employee to 366 degrees, I think this is probably fairly important. So I can go here, and if I want to, if I had a large company, I could import my employees that I wanted access to 366 degrees. Most of our clients don't do that. I can simply add an employee. And so when you're adding an employee, you're going to put all their information in, and you can determine whether you know, they're a super user, which means they can do anything in the site. They're a marketing user. They have some limitations to what they do, or you can actually build out your own roles. So I don't know if that use case is relevant for anyone, but you can see that in our documentation where I may create, you know, a sales role where the salesperson doesn't really need the ability to create campaigns or emails, but they want to see the reporting or get access to the profiles for leads. I literally can build a role, and that access will apply where they'll only see certain things relevant to them. So while we're here, we'll just talk about leads or customer profiles. It works the same. So on a lead profile, if I want to add an individual to you know, the system, I can literally add them here. Or if I'm importing a list that maybe I ran a campaign externally, it was coming off my web page or for some third party, and I wanted to import those leads, I can import leads in any time. Same with contacts, same with the employee profiles. I can pull a list in and dynamically kind of match the fields, or I can download a template and put my data in that format and upload it. So you can get data in and out of the system pretty quickly with these imports. I will caution people, it's best to use a CSV versus Excel. And in some cases, if you've got spaces or special characters or whatever, just make sure that you're matching it to the template and what we have, and you should have no issue importing data. So we've gone through profile management. If you happen to delete something by accident, or you know, you want to get rid of it, we have the ability in the recycle bin. So sometimes you may have deleted an asset, maybe it was an email or a landing page or social post, and you want it back. In the recycle bin, you can always restore it, or you can click on it and delete them forever. So that's just kind of a foolproof way if you delete something by accident and you need to go back to it. So that's pretty much the administration side of 366 degrees. So it's really important as you're starting in 366 degrees to really get into the company profile area and the email administration. One area that I'll go into, I talked about the role definitions. This is where you can define roles here. I'm not really going to go into it, but the category definitions are pretty important because it is where, as you build templates and you're building maybe different type of templates, maybe for a podcast or maybe for a landing page or, you know, onboarding or whatever it may be, you can add a category. And at the time you're creating a template or an email, you can associate that category. So if I just wanted to, name this, podcast, whatever it may be, themes, I could do that and save it. And then that category will be available as I create new assets to organize it under that area. So I think we've gone through everything on the portal admin. Paul, I'm just going to ask any major questions at this point, and I'll just kind of take a quick break if there's any questions.
Nope, we've got them all covered. Thanks, Brad.
Excellent, thank you. So the next thing we're going to go into is actually kind of the heart of the creation area, the content area, if you will, of 366 degrees. And we call this Quick Campaign. So Quick Campaign is broken up into templates, emails, pages, social, and the gallery is where you're storing like your email headers or your images or your logos, and then the ability to automate campaigns. So this is kind of the bulk of where you're spending your time creating assets, marketing, sales, whatever, educational, whatever it may be. So the templates area, really, you don't have to have templates to create an email. You can build it from scratch. We have some limited templates that are available in the system, but you can, build templates pretty readily. So let's just say, take this as an example. We're building out a podcast template. We just launched a podcast, so I can see this this category may not be correct. Maybe I don't want this into another category. Maybe it really should be a newsletter. I can go in at any point and create a template from scratch. I can import a template. So if you want to import a template, there's some things like when I say import, you might buy a template from like Theme Forest or another marketplace. On the import, when you go to import, there'll actually be some do's and don'ts. So we don't accept external CSS. There's certain things that if you try to do that, and there's kind of the little X buttons they'll tell you, it's not going to work. So we do have to have a specific format to import something if you're buying it from a marketplace, and this will tell you how to do that. So you can also at any point, if you're an HTML guru, you can get to the HTML. But I like to kind of really just kind of build templates from scratch. So when I'm in a template and let's say I don't really like a particular area, I can delete the area down. I can go over here and I can add any other thing I want. So there's probably over 400 what we call snippets. These are HTML ready type snippets. So let's just say that I wanted a button or two buttons. I can drop a button down, and then I can get into these buttons, change the links, change the color of the background, the text. Our editor is actually pretty powerful. It's just sometimes editors are different and some people have different skill sets, but you can build a template once and then reuse that if you want to. So we're going to go into emails next really quick. So same thing. So this would be one that was created that we built. So if I wanted to view that template for our podcast, I could see that here's the podcast, and that's the template we're going to use. So bear with me here. Let's see here. All right. So emails, while we're in emails and creating emails, like once again, so if I wanted just to create an email, when you log in and you're brand new, you're not going to see any content here. So when you log in, don't be concerned. You can create an email from right here. It's going to take you through this step on any marketing asset or sales asset you're building. So if it was a test email 2, you're going to describe it, right? You're going to put your subject line. For those that don't know what a pre-header is, it shows up on mobile devices. It's a way for you to explain like what's in that email. So I always recommend putting a pre-header like, hey, this is, whatever. So at this point, I could choose a template that I wanted to. So if I had already had a template to associate, I could associate a template to this. I could assign contributors, as I mentioned before. If I had somebody externally helping with us, if I clicked on Case in here as an example, he would basically get an email saying that he's been invited to work on this template, and he could log in and help you design the best looking template. But what we do here under the snippets, depending on if you're building elaborate emails that really don't work as much anymore. If you have a lot of imagery, a lot of links, it's not really the way to do it. So in these snippets, you'll find if you're building simple outreach, we have something called a sales outreach category that has these snippets. You can easily drop them over, change the image from a gallery. So if I were going to go down and, I'll just find a header here. The gallery is going to allow you to organize your images so that it makes sense for you to get to them. We'll put a puppy dog in there. And so I can easily, like if I want doing sales type oriented or basic text, I can easily grab these snippets, pull them over, change it, go to the link, put your calendar link there or change the text here and run pretty easily. As well as one key thing as you're doing personalization, where we're going to, basically pull information from the list you've uploaded, the name. You can actually go here and pull the contact, first name, so you can personalize that. You can put sender fields in here, so you can dynamically kind of personalize and pull data via those fields. If you are using something like Vidyard, which a lot of you may really not know much about Vidyard, but Vidyard has a free version that you can download at their store or get it from Google, and it will allow you to record videos or upload videos. And our interaction with that is pretty seamless. So once you connect 366 to that, you can insert videos across any of your marketing assets. So landing pages, emails, social posts to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it may be. It's a very simple process. So if you are using video or you want to use video, you can check out the Go Vidyard video browser, which is free. And once you get a sign in, it'll ask you to sign into 366 degrees and you now can pull videos. So I'm going to get out of that real quick. Once again, you can get to the HTML. If you want to, you can create and save a test. So what will happen if you want to create and set a test, for those of you that are just logging in, we actually create your name as a duplicate lead. So if you are going to test, you have some lead in your database and you can pick the email where you want to send it. And then that will come to the email that you have registered in 366 degrees. And you can test and see if that email is looking up to par. Any questions, Paul, so far?
All good so far. We did have one question. I know you're going to get to it about building a drip, but just keep going. We're good.
Okay. So I think we're good on time. We got 30 minutes. So pages, what do pages mean to us? Pages for us can be really three things. They can be a form fill. They can be an HTML that's just more informational with links and there's no data collection. Or you can actually upload pages as PDFs, PowerPoints, Excels, Word, that you can use throughout 366 for downloads. So say you had a case study, you wanted to send that in an email, you just wanted to include the link to that case study in the email, it would automatically pull up the PDF or PowerPoint or Excel. So we use this a lot for just our case studies and PDFs, where we'll load a page and we'll actually get, we'll take either the embed code, which allows us to embed it directly into an email, directly into a land page, directly into a social post, or we use these shortener links to where if I just want to include this PDF and a shortener link for somebody, I want to text it to them or whatever, I simply copy that and it's going to drive to that PDF or PowerPoint. But on a form fill, we're working on this right now. So this will be part of our use case. So I'll go through this use case right now. So we're in the process of launching a podcast. So you can join that if you'd like. But in that podcast, we're going to build landing pages specific for each guest that we interview, so that it's a way as an onboarding that someone can get into our podcast newsletter. So in this case, I've built a landing page. I've named it Play the King Podcast 3 with our good friend over at Good 360. And I could have chose a template, but I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and pass that just to show you where we're at. So what I did on this is 366 has some standard form fills or data collection, and they're right here on the right. So on this one, I used this bottom. Well, I used this one right here, the second from the bottom. I simply dragged it over, changed the image, and then used the other areas of buttons or article type things, and I dropped and dragged these over. So I like to build pages that way versus a template, because most of our landing pages, as far as what we're doing with 366, are very kind of like lead centric, or trying to get them into a specific newsletter. We're not using this as a landing page on our main page. We're using it for specific campaigns that we're trying to drive to. Now, in the landing pages, there's APIs and iframes that I think is a little more for this call for those that aren't in. But we do have the ability to take the iframes, or you can actually get data into one of your forms from one of our APIs. So in this case, we're building this simple landing page out. It tells a little bit about the podcast, who it's hosted by, our guest speaker, tying it into the actual, podcast, Apple, Google, and Spotify. So what I've done here is I've picked a form collection of just first name, last name, and email. And while I'm in the landing page, I'm going to want to, when someone submits this, what do we want to happen, right? So if I click on this link here, it gives me the action pages for the landing page. So in this case, where I showed you that we might have a PDF or a use case or a PowerPoint, or even some type of video, I could pick something that I want to download upon their submit, like a case study, or I can literally put in where I want them to go when they fill this out. In this case, I want them to go to our podcast main page so they can sign up. And then I can say what I want to do. Do I want to send them a template? So I can pick a template and have that email template automatically go out. I can pick the sender from the company that I want it to go out from. So in this case, I'll pick me. I can pick the subject I want. I can pick the domain. So if you remember where we talked about the multi-domain capabilities, I can choose whether I want this to come from our OMI brand. In this case, it is an OMI podcast, so I want that. Or do I want it to come from 366? So that allows me to do that. And if I wanted to automatically subscribe them upon submit of this form, I can drop them in Play the King podcast. I can tell where it's from. The lead source is Play the King. And in this case, if I was connected to Salesforce or Nimble, if I click Salesforce, it would automatically create a lead in Salesforce or automatically create a lead in Nimble. Now, you don't have to have that. It doesn't matter. If you don't have a CRM, it's automatically going to create a lead in 366 degrees. It's automatically going to say where that lead came from, in this case, a landing page. And then it's also going to notify whoever set this up that a lead had filled out the form. So you don't have to have a CRM to do that. It'll automatically create a lead in your system. So that was part of my use case in that. And now I'm going to go, let's see here, response. It's going to make me do a template. We'll go here. Sorry, it's not I clicked response and it wasn't letting me move. So the next thing I'm going to go into is social posting. So as we saw when we first got started, that we set up our LinkedIn, our Facebook, and our Twitter. Let's use this podcast example as the same. So here is a tweet that we're sending out to promote the podcast. So the sales tip, the episode, and now I'm going to go into the content. So it's going to give you the ability to type in all your hashtags, what the topic is, we love marketing, we love sales, whatever it may be, hashtag CRM, hashtag marketing, whatever it may be. And then when you put the actual podcast URL, or you put any URL you want it to drive to, we will automatically shorten that URL. And then you can check it and make sure that it's resolving to the right place. So once I have that and it looks good, I can select an image. In this case, I won't change this image. But in your gallery, you're going to be able to create your own folders and where you want the images to reside. In this case, I would pick that Twitter image. I'm not going to do it, but I would have gone into my image gallery. I would have picked the image I want, and I would have uploaded that. So if you're using Vidyard Enterprise, which most of you won't, if you're not using Enterprise, this will not show up, so it's dynamic. If you're using Vidyard's free version of the browser, this will automatically show up once you've logged in. And I could literally also put a video behind this image. So if I was sending this to LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, I could actually drop a video behind this. So we're going to save that. So once I've saved that, that asset, I now can schedule it. So we're just going to show how we schedule this. So what's going to happen is it's actually going to pull the image up. You're going to pick it. And then based on the connectivity that you have with your Facebook, you'll see here that I picked Paul. And so OMI has several business brands in 366 online. So if I wanted this post to go to all of our brands, I could, or one of our brands. And then if I wanted this to go to LinkedIn, I would basically pick, I'll pick myself here. You'll see that I now can send it to my personal page on LinkedIn, or I could pick our two brands, OMI and 366. And then I could also say, okay, I want this to go to my Twitter accounts. So if I was managing multiple brands, even my personal, say, yeah, I want it to go to my brand, and I want it to go to 366, and maybe I want it to go to OMI. What you're seeing is we're going to proliferate and push that post out to all of these properties, right from 366. So if I want to schedule this now, it's going to pick the date here, and I just hit schedule now. If I want to schedule it out into the future, I can pick a future date and the time, and I would just hit schedule asset. And then that would run on our schedule, and then that would be posted out into the social properties. So real quick, we went through social gallery. Just to explain real quick, when you first log in and you're new, you're not going to have any folders. So all you do here is simply type in a folder. You could put logos, email headers. Don't put any spaces in there, but you could put Twitter, Facebook. So if you're managing your images, you can load them up here. It's very simple to upload a logo. You just hit this button and you can drag it in. One thing I tell people is if you're not a graphic designer or image type person, and that becomes really troublesome for you, there's a product called Canva, and we can get that out to you, but it's canva.com, canva.com. It allows you to build pretty dynamic, really elegant images across all your social properties, email headers, really simple, and they have a free version. I highly recommend that. All right, Paul, before I get into the automation, I'm going to break real quick and see if we have any questions.
Nope, keep rolling.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, everybody. A good group. So when you go and you want to build an automated campaign, I'm not going to just create one since I've already got one. So I'm going to go into one that's blank. We just called it the AppSumo demo. And I can set a date of when I want this campaign to run. So, I can run a campaign on forever. I can run a campaign for a couple weeks, whatever it may be. You can notice I just named this. It's not scheduled yet, so I need to edit it. I need to do something with it. So there's three types of what we call campaigns, and it's important to understand the difference because I think there's a little confusion sometimes. So a standard campaign, best use case would be is say that maybe you had a product or service and you wanted to nest any communication into that product around 366. So I may send an email every now and then. I may send a social post every now and then. I may have a landing page every now and then, but I just want to kind of keep everything standard and together. You can create that. There's no automation, but it allows you to basically nest any of your communications that are ad hoc under that one campaign. These two are automated, the standard drip and the open drip. The standard drip is you can build a cadence, and that's what I'm going to show you, or a journey, but you're picking a targeted list. So say I have 1,000 people, they're going to run through a 3-step email campaign, and once those 3 run through, they're done. The drip campaign open is an ongoing running campaign that runs pretty much as long as you want it to run. So an open drip can be used for things like maybe sales outreach, where if someone's interested in your product and you want to send them 5 standard emails that kind of educate them on the product as they go. Or you may want to do an onboarding campaign for customers that are going to be repeated. That the open drip campaigns can get in via our API. They're running all the time. You can enter them from a lead or contact record in 366, or if you used our capture API on your web page, maybe for an email sign up or newsletter sign up, that could run a drip as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and define the assets just to show you how this works. So, you know, there's our dog campaign. We're going to use this one. And this is what you've built in your email area. These are not templates. It's what you've built in your email to be launched in the email campaign area. So we'll pick this one and we'll pick this one. And for time's sake, I could make it more elegant and put social posts in here and landing. I could do a lot more, but for time's sake, I'm just going to give everybody a general idea. From an email perspective, you know, I can pull my email over. I can select a date to start it. And let's just say we'll start it, you know, Monday, right? We'll set it. And then I'm going to drag my next email over. And so this is going to be the second email in the journey or cadence or sequence. So what do I want to do on the second one? Do I want it to be trigger based or date based? So let's just say trigger. So let's say if that person, if they didn't open it for, you know, 2 days, then that email is going to launch. And then so on my third one, I'm going to drag it down and I can say, you know, based on a trigger again or a date, I could put it out date or trigger, but let's just say on a trigger, if they clicked, right? Let's say if they clicked on it 2 times, I could send it immediately upon the click if there's some urgency to getting them information, or I could say maybe 1 day later, or I could do it hours later if I don't want to be obnoxious. So let's just say if they clicked on it, you know, I'm going to send them this last email maybe 2 hours later. So the idea behind this is it's very linear type automation. There's not multiple journeys where we're pulling people in and out of that. Those are, you know, more suited in larger marketing platforms. It is capable, but we're very linear. So if I had saved this, I would go ahead and choose an audience, the 1,000 people that I wanted to send, and I would send it from there. I'll show you how to choose an audience on an email. I'm not going to do it here, but the automation can be done for if you had starting a landing page, and once they filled out the landing page, you could kind of drip them emails. You can also include social, where if I was supporting an event like this, where I wanted to do 3 or 4 emails up to the event, I literally could do the social posting along side of this. Social posts are not based off triggers, they're date based, but you could do that. Any questions, Paul?
Nope, keep going.
All right, so just real quick, I want to get to the subscriptions real quick. So if you're building like newsletter subscriptions, or you want to have a newsletter subscription, you can, once you've built a subscription, you know, you can start adding people either from the form, or you can upload a list here just like that, like we showed you in the leads. You can do it that way. There's several ways to do that. I'm sorry here, let me get back to my subscriptions. If I don't have a subscription, yours going to be blank at first. So you're going to add a subscription. You're going to name whatever it is. Maybe it's company newsletter. You describe what it is. You're going to say, typically type is it weekly, monthly, giving your users some idea of how frequent they're going to get it. And if you're using multiple domains, then you can pick the domain that the subscription is. So if I pick 366 degrees here, this is going to show up on my subscription page that I built earlier in the setup. So if you're doing multiple domains, that's how you do it. Name your subscription and then do that there. So one other thing, just as far as opt-outs, because some of you may be moving from, you know, MailChimp or some other things. So if you already have an opt-out list, like, so you've, you know, you've basically, have a list, but you're moving from another platform to 366, you can upload your list here and import. We obviously have to have an email to opt them out. But if you have opt-out list already and you want to load it and you load it here, then we won't send them an email regardless going forward. All right, so let's get into reporting real quick. I know we have probably about 14 minutes, so I'm going to speed up a little bit and get through some of this. I think I've gone through most of the key stuff for people starting out. So in your reports, you're going to have reports across email, pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and I'll talk about engagement score here in a second. But if I'm sending emails out and this is a drip, then I want to see, who I've sent to, who's opening it. So in all the emails, you're going to get the sent, the opens, the click, the failed, if anyone had opt out, and then the click-throughs. So within these categories, you can break up, the dates. You can extract across any of these, the Excel or CSV. So if you're taking this information and taking it somewhere else, you can get it from an Excel or CSV. I can, go by count to see who's the most engaged, last open, lead source. All of these are basically filterable, so you can filter them. So alphabetical order, phone number, mobile, whatever it may be. And then anything that's failed, you're going to be able to see, so you might want to look into that or take that out. From an opt-out perspective, we're automatically opting out any hard bounces, or obviously if someone unsubscribes, we're going to take them out. And then if you're going through click-throughs, you're going to be able to see, who's clicking through. So in this case, this is like a schedule page. So I'm going to want to know who's actually filling out, a meeting time with us. I can get that information. Reports as far as pages, very same, who's filled out the page, all that information. LinkedIn and Twitter, I'll just go through this real quick so it's clear on what we're doing. Is basically we're getting likes and likes and retweets across anything you're posting. So if I want to look into this and I would say, let's see, I'm trying to find one that might be have an image on it. So this one looks like it. It's gonna, when you drill into it, it's gonna show you what the image was, what your message was, what the short link was. So if you want to go back and clone this social post and retweet it, you can kind of get information to do that. Engagement score, we'll talk about this real quick. It allows you to basically see what kind of marketing assets that the lead or contact is engaging with, and it gives you a score. So, sorry about this, Zoom does some funky stuff sometimes. So the score basically is going to allow you to see firsthand who's engaging the most. So if I want to go by this, I just clicked on something, so I'm there. If I want to click on and see, what Brad is actually looking at, it's going to bring up all the actual information that I've been viewing or interacting with in 366. And so from an engagement score, you can think of it from a sales side as maybe a lead score, or from the marketing side, just kind of a quick view of what people are engaging with and how frequent they are. So you can go in and edit these actions, if you will, and you can give them their own point scores. So if I don't want to give an email score of 5, maybe less or more, then you're going to actually validate that or keep that going for 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, or never expires. We do recommend expiring that because it gives you a more real reflection of engagement and how active people are kind of reviewing your stuff. And then lastly, you can degrade scores. So if somebody opts out, you may want to give them, even a higher score, maybe a 50. But that point will weigh in your score. But you have full control over editing this. So one real thing before I want to give every time some questions. Help and training, you can click on this at any time and get to kind of use cases, articles, how-tos. That's right in the program right here. You can do that. Our manage apps as well. I won't go too much into this, but one thing I think is very valuable is our Chrome widget. You can go to the Google Chrome store and download this, and it basically will allow you via your Gmail or Outlook via browser to highlight an email and drop people in campaigns or see what they're doing right in the browser, and it will look like this. These other things you can kind of take a look and see through. If you need assistance, more like you want us to help with additional onboarding, or you need professional email design, we have partners in here that can pretty much do anything across the marketing stack that you might need. If you need that, if you're an expert, you probably don't need these guys. Last thing before I close, I'd like to just, for those that are new or those people are using, you'll see this little green smiley face guy at the bottom. This is Intercom. It's really kind of a customer support ticketing system that a lot of SaaS companies use. We use it, and it's pretty good. At any time, if you want to search for articles that are related to, maybe you're having a problem or you want to learn a little bit more, it's going to try to find that information dynamically for you. And if you need to having trouble, you can just send us a message and it'll be assigned to one of our team to try to help you. So I highly encourage, once you're in the platform, to use this ticketing mechanism. It's the best way for us to get to you or try to solve your problems. So Paul, in closing on that, I want to thank all of you and everyone, AppSumo included, Lindsay and Rebecca, for allowing us at 366 Degrees to be part of the SumoLing group. You guys have been really great. Been very patient, and we appreciate the opportunity. So Paul, I'm going to leave it open for the next 8 minutes for questions.
I'm going to go ahead and ask you those questions. Thank you so much for all of that. SumoLings, I know that Paul has been the absolute best. Oops, let me turn off my AC. Has been the absolute best at answering those questions in the Q&A box. So if there's still anything you're curious about, you can go ahead and leave those questions now. For right now, Brad, I just want to ask you some questions that are pretty standard among the SumoLing community. The first question is, I'm sure you've gotten this question a bit. Paul, you got some compliments in the chat. A question that you'll probably have seen before is about roadmaps. So I'm wondering what you're most excited about that SumoLings have to look forward to with 366 Degrees.
I think as far as, features and functions, I mean, a lot of them I've seen in the ticketing. For those, like, just so everyone knows, like, we kind of started linking to CRMs. That's how we started a couple years ago. And that's a lot of the features and functionalities. I think few people like Francis have mentioned, contact lists, being able to organize data that you're importing a lot more efficiently is coming out. We've had several things that we're working on as far as like social posting, like being able to like automate some of that, like upload your social post in more of like a group send out. Right now it's more manual, and you're setting that up and sending it out. So we've had a lot of requests for those type things, which are coming. To be honest with you, those are the main things. I mean, we look for feedback. A lot of people have asked for SMS. The reason why we've decided not to push for SMS at this time is we just feel we have a lot more work to do on the product to make it, a leading product. So I know that's been a big request, but those two primary things, really, the data list, being able to import data, segment data a lot easier is a big one. The social posting is a big one. And that's pretty much where we're going.
Cool, thank you. We've also gotten some questions about various use cases. A few people have written in asking if certain things would work in this platform. I know you've just showed us a whole lot. I'm gonna do this question as an example, but I'd also love to hear, maybe some other use cases that might be unique or something. So this is what Marilyn wrote. I'm thinking if I have people download a brochure from my site, I can add them into 366 and create a sequence of next steps and drip emails depending upon their actions and what they open. Can you speak to this and then other use cases?
Yeah, so that use case is better, just so you know, and it depends on like some of the capabilities of, whoops. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in our APIs, all of that is really possible. Like some of the use cases where it's not just a straight sign them up in our newsletter or kick them into a drip. You can do that. You can do that now through the back end, like I showed. But there's also kind of unlimited. I think that was Marilyn. There's unlimited ways if you have the knowledge. If you don't, our team can help on that. but there's unlimited ways for us to kick off automation or drips or journeys. So I would say that's definitely feasible, even if but it's probably going to require some of our APIs.
Cool. Thank you for that. This question just came in. If this doesn't track replies, hang on, I want to like synthesize this into one question. But
Yeah, here, I can jump in, Brad.
yeah, if you want to. I don't know how to ask questions that aren't in question.
Colby's been asking a couple times about the replies being processed in our email automation. So we automate based on days or based on opens, clicks, or unopens. We do not process reply emails that come back. Those reply emails will come back to whatever reply email address you set up. They are not processed by 366 degrees and do not drop people out of the automated workflows.
Okay. Right. So, but you can drop them on the record. So you can drop them manually.
Yeah.
But it's not automatic.
Cool. This question probably comes up. Is Vidyard the only way to use video? I know the answer is no, but can you explain?
Yeah, no. So like on why we use Vidyard is Vidyard automatically like manages the graphic right on the front end. So you never really play, a video doesn't play in an email. It just doesn't work that way. So video automatically brings the graphics over, allows you to kind of, have the little view there. You can basically create an image anywhere on the landing page or, email, and you can link the video on the back end. So that could be YouTube, Vimeo, whatever it may be, whatever video platform. We've just integrated with Vidyard to make it easier for you to, record videos, put them in our system and all that good stuff. But you can use whatever backend you are, you can link to anything, but it's not managed. We don't manage the video in 366 either. It's managed on the Vidyard platform. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. People love APIs in Sumo land. Do we get access to the API in this offer, and can I integrate it to another platform?
Sure. The APIs were that page. If you just go to our main page at 366degrees.co and you look at that, there's sample JSON and other, if you're detailed into that and you kind of know that, you can set up with your token key from 366 right in that, and you can test away and you can integrate into any platform that you like.
Amazing. All right. Sumolings, if you have any more questions, now is your moment to let us know what those questions are. We've only got about a minute left here today. In the meantime, I don't know. I think this is it. I feel like Paul, you killed it. You got through everything. Brad, you also killed it and gave a very effective walkthrough. And I'm going to close this out. Yeah.
Well, once again,
nobody's
Lindsay,
protesting.
Yeah. Well, hey, Lindsay, thank you very much. And AppSumo team and crew, we really appreciate the opportunity. We know you got a lot of choices out there. Thank you for trying 366 degrees, and we'll see you on the other side and look forward to growing with you.
Awesome. Yes. Y'all have been great. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Paul. Sumolings, if you haven't already, you can go to appsumo.com/366-degrees and you can start redeeming your codes. They're starting at $69 for a lifetime deal. And of course, this is backed by AppSumo's 60-day guarantee. So you can go ahead and get set up, play around with it, and see how it works for you. Of course, once you're set up, we'd love to know how you're feeling about it. So you can go ahead and leave reviews on the deal page. And of course, if you have any more questions, you can leave those on the deal page as well. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, y'all have a great weekend. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Thanks.
Definitely. Have a good one all.